Hi, this is Stronger Every Day. I'm Bo Bigelow. 4.5 years ago, I quit my law job to be at home with my kids. Turns out my daughter Tess has special needs. She's different, and now so is everything else. A bit of warning, this podcast has swearing in it. Swearing always makes me feel better, so you'll be hearing some language. This is episode number 1. This week, my 5-year-old Tess started throwing up a lot. She has gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD, or just reflux, we call it. But she rarely hurls. I found it in her pack and play on Monday morning when I woke her up, a neat little pile buried under her cheek. It didn't really smell, but I still felt like a huge dick for not finding it during the night. I cleaned her up and she spent the next 4 days getting sick, off and on. She'd seem fine, go for 24 hours of regular eating and be good to go, and then her school would call me to come pick her up. On this week's show, how it is with an ailing Tess. She's nonverbal, non-ambulatory, and sick as a dog. On Monday, I had no idea how long this would go. I tried to be zen about it, went back to a piece I wrote for Playground Dad a year ago called So Your Kid is Sick, 3 Rules to Make It Suck Less. But I had no clue that this sickness would last the whole week, that I'd be stuck inside the house on extended lockdown. No clue that the same bug would take down my wife. Also, no clue how Tess's 8-year-old brother Dana would also succumb. The illnesses of the 2 kids running parallel, but vastly different. Sick Dana is like this, nauseous the whole time, refuses all food, frequently whining. Here's what sick Tess looks like. She's remarkably similar to healthy Tess. Cheerful, vocal, except just before she's going to toss her cookies. She gets this momentary look of alarm, almost like, did I leave the oven on? Then a burp that I can only describe as seismic. When those 2 things happen, I have about 20 seconds to scoop up her little 40-pound ass and sprint to the toilet or sink or whatever sort of receptacle is closest. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't I just have a bucket next to her? Well, she faked me out a bunch. Went for a full day in the clear. That night, just before bed, right about the time my wife and I are breathing a sigh of relief that she's better, out of nowhere, she hurls. Everything she'd eaten that day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, practically undigested, like she was saving it for us. Here's another highlight. We have a dog, and at one point the boy was sick, lying on the couch, threatening to throw up. Tess was throwing up, and then the dog also started throwing up at the same time. He's making gagging sounds, and then when I call him to get him to go outside to get sick, he runs away so he can get into the next room and throw up there. So I've got 2 kinds of chunder, dog and kid, in my carpet. I just read Jenny Offill's excellent but heartbreaking novel, Department of Speculation, and I totally sympathize with the part where the main character, known as the wife, talks about getting her daughter a puppy, and that though her daughter's thrilled, the puppy does the final work of unhinging the wife. You ever get that feeling? Like if one more thing happens, you know it's going to send you over the edge, and then it does happen. Another example, after days of lockdown, I'm running on fumes, and Tess is gnawing on our wooden kitchen table, literally, like with her teeth, getting splinters in her mouth every time I try to do something like sip from my coffee or answer the phone. And I'm just saying to myself, if I can just make it to 5 p.m. or this certain event, like a babysitter coming so I can have a much-needed date night with my wife, then I can take a break. But then the sitter cancels. She's got the flu, so no break. And my table looks like we have a pet woodchuck. Do you ever think, what if someone came in here right now? What if someone not from my family walked into my house without warning and saw all this? Could I possibly be a worse parent than I appear to be at this exact moment? Could it be any clearer that I have lost control, that the wheels are off? I mean, I could be in 2 places at once, but not 3. It wouldn't be so bad if I could work out, but I can't. I did something galactically dumb. A couple days after Christmas, I tore my ACL at this trampoline center that just opened near my house. As you may know, being at home can make you insane, and for me, running and workouts in general have been the antidote. Without them, I am losing my shit. I'm unhinged. While this was all happening with Tess and I couldn't leave the house, I did a few workouts in the basement, just simple things with sit-ups and dumbbells. Honestly, they kind of sucked. They were the kind of workouts where you stop every few minutes and say, what am I doing? But it was better than nothing. My father-in-law, Don, lives about 5 minutes from us. He's fond of saying to my wife, "You have no idea what you can handle," meaning you're way stronger than you think. If I believe something's about to break me, I'm probably underestimating myself. And Don's right. While I did a lot of swearing during this quarantine, it didn't break me. I'm not unhinged. And I got to see a rare side of Tess while she was under the weather. She was a little Klingon glued to my hip. That's a change. I haven't seen that from her in months. Most times with me, she does the dead weight thing when I try to pick her up. I'm not whining about any of this, really. My wife is around a lot, and she cuts me loose to get out to the gym, wherever I need. She's awesome. I can't imagine being a single parent. I'm grateful that this sickness ends, Maybe you're out there and your kid throws up every day or has a feeding tube. Fact is, T can feed herself, even with a fork now. Her reflux is minimal. She's good. So I'm good. And finally, I made it through this stir-crazy week. I'm really working on getting better at asking for help when I need it, so many thanks to my dear friend Tracy for helping me out. She saved my bacon big time. She hung out with the kids for a couple hours while I got an MRI on my busted knee. Turns out, torn ACL. Also, thanks to Tyson at CrossFit Beacon for giving me a list of knee-friendly workouts. Also, thanks and a big shout out to another Tracy Wilkes. I recently wrote on my blog the story of how we learned that Tess has cortical visual impairment. And Tracy Wilkes tweeted me that she plans to share my story with parents of her students with CVI, which made my day to hear that. The story I told was about how a lot of people, including Tess's eye doctor, thought we were nuts for saying she couldn't see. And I also talked about how we were vindicated and thankful when we learned that CVI is real. It's a thing, and there are experts and support networks and parents out there like Tracy who are connecting all of us. So thanks to Tracy. I hope it helps people, especially anybody who was ever made to feel like they were nuts. And a big no thanks to our insurance company, that patch of ice next to my mailbox, ESPN3 for blacking out Syracuse basketball games, and the flu, or whatever the hell this bug is, making the rounds up here in Maine. And that's it for this week's show. I'll be back next week. Until then, if you're an at-home parent, hang in there. I am with you. If you're a parent or a caretaker for someone with special needs and you listen to this show, I want to hear from you, especially if you've discovered something that's working for you. You've unlocked some cosmic secret that might help others in your position. For example, after Tess had hip surgery, she was in a heavy body cast that went from her armpits to ankles. And one set of parents who'd gone through the same surgery with their kid reached out to my wife and me and told us something no doctors had suggested. A secret that made the whole experience livable. Buy a $20 beanbag at Target, they said. It molds to any kid, any shape of cast. Then she can sit and you can give your arms a rest. Genius idea. So I'd love to hear what you've figured out, or maybe something totally sucks in your world and you haven't figured out the secret yet, but you desperately need to. Either way, contact me and maybe I'll share your story on the air. Just tweet at me at Bo Bigelow on Twitter. Special thanks to Will Saccharin, who wrote and performed the music you heard a minute ago, our closing theme, which is called Inner Groove. Also special thanks to Brad Pierce, who co-wrote this music, our opening theme, and performed on guitar. If you like this show, you might like some of the other shows in the collective known as Portland Roots Media, a series of podcasts made right here in Maine, but not just for Mainers. You got your food and drink, you got your ER medicine, you got this podcast, all kinds of good stuff. Check out portlandrootsmedia.com. On Twitter, I'm at Bo Bigelow. I also blog at bobigelow.com. Aside from podcasting, I'm a writer. My author site on Facebook is facebook.com/BigelowBooks. Many thanks for listening, and see you next time.